Ramadan is finally coming to an end. On the 31st day of the month of March, it would be Eid al-Fitr, and the 1st of April would be the second day of that. But again, we just want to highlight some of the significance of Ramadan fasting and the implication of that on the lives of Nigerians. We have with us via Zoom this morning Dr. Isma'Il Chindo Gotomo is Imam Haliru Abdul Jamait Mosque, Building Kebbi, lecturer, Waziru Umaru Federal Polytechnic, Building Kebbi, Nigeria. Good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us, Imam.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Okay, as we draw close to the end of the Ramadan fast for the year 2025, can you give us the advantages and the implications of Ramadan fasts, on the lives of Muslim and, of course, that of other faiths as well?
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. Ramadan fast, is prescribed in the glorious Quran. The Quran tells us that, all you who believe, fasting has been prescribed unto you, just as it was prescribed unto those before you. Meaning to say that other religions that came before Islam, like Judaism and Christianity actually, so that you may attain piety, or so that you may take cover, or so that you may have shield. Now, this shield or cover has been explained by Islamic scholars to mean, one, shield against immorality; two, shield against devilish activities; shield against other abnormal activities. Now, it is also going to be shield, for the society, just as you rightly said. So, Ramadan fast has been prescribed by Islam so that Muslims will have spiritual upliftment, just similar to other religions. And so that also Muslims will learn abstention. You abstain from eating, drinking, and marital relations for a particular period, meaning from dawn to sunset throughout the whole month of Ramadan. And not only that, a Muslim is expected to abstain from vulgar words and being a talkative somebody. Not only that, Muslim is expected to give out charity while a person is fasting, so that you care for others. Muslim is also expected to read and learn more of the glorious Quran, though we read the Quran every day, but in particular, in the month of Ramadan, in which the Quran was revealed, Muslims are expected to learn. That's why you see Muslims all around mosques where the Quran is being translated and explained further for them and all understanding. So Ramadan actually is a very important period. Not only that, the actions that a Muslim performs, righteous actions, will have more rewards than other months. So the significance of Ramadan fast is enormous. It has spiritual upliftment, then it also has moral upliftment, and also taking care of others, showing concern to others, giving out, so that you will not be a materialist. So you have to take care of others, even if it's small things. So these are part of the major significance of the month of Ramadan fast. Thank you very much.
Okay, how do you think that other faiths can relate with Ramadan fasts, especially now that we are finally drawing to a close?
Yes, just as I said earlier, the fasting in Islam is very similar to that of other faiths, particularly Judaism and the Christianity, as far as we know, because you abstain. Now, not only that, as I said, in Islam, the relationship of taking care of others, you give out to others, not only to Muslims, you give out to all that relates to you, to your neighbors, and then you control your tongue. Islam says that even if somebody approaches you for trouble, if you are fasting, tell that person that I am fasting. I am fasting. Meaning to say that I have no time for trouble. So you see that if Muslims have no time for trouble, other faiths should also learn from them, and that, okay, these people do not like trouble. We should also be troubleless people. And it's not only expected to be so in Ramadan. Even after Ramadan, a Muslim is expected to control his or her tongue, and also is expected to behave well in society, and also is expected to expand for others, because it is a kind of refresher course, let me call it like that. In the whole year, the month of Ramadan is there to refresh Muslims spiritually, so and socially. So other faiths as well can learn from that. And as you behave well, you are, in other words, telling other people to behave well as well. Thank you very much.
What are the significance of Laylat al-Qadr? That's the night of decree for
Yes, the letter.
someone who is
Yes,
fasting.
yes, the letter. That's a very important question as well. Laylatul Qadr means the night of power. The Quran tells us that Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alf shahr, meaning to say that that night of power is worth 1,000 months, precisely about 82 or 83 years plus. Meaning to say that the reward that a Muslim gets if he or she performs righteous action in that night, his reward will be more than the reward of what he will get in 1,000 months that is not in the little Qadr. So that night, Muslims are expected to do more actions. I mean, prayers, recitation of the glorious Quran, glorifying Allah Almighty, and so on and so forth, so that he or she will attain that felicity. Not only that, you know that after the month of Ramadan, towards the end of the month of Ramadan, there is what is known as Zakatul Fitr. As I said earlier, showing concern to how others live. So Islam asks Muslims to, after having the discipline, after accruing the discipline in the month of Ramadan, then you also have to show concern to particularly the poor and the needy. So Islam prescribes that you give out food measure. Now this, there are two measures as you can see. Now this is known as Mudun Nabi. This is a small measure, precisely half a liter like that, or 1/3 of a mood. Here in KB State, we use mood, and I know that in other places they use what they call tia, that is twice of that. Now, each Muslim is expected to give out 4 measures of this to the poor and the needy, so that, as you mentioned, the Eid al-Fitr, that is the day when we celebrate conclusion of the fasting of the month of Ramadan, the poor ones do not need to go and look for food on that day at least. So this one, you give out 4 measures of this. Now these 4 measures equals 1 measure of this, what is known as Sa and Nabi. So these are part of the measures that Islam takes to teach Muslims to be good citizens, to be citizens that take care of others, that Muslims that control their anger as they live with others. Thank you very much.
I mean, you've also highlighted the role of zakat and
Yes,
sadaqah,
yes.
during a Ramadan period. Can you tell us the common mistakes that Muslims make, during Ramadan period, and how can these mistakes be avoided?
That's very good also. You see, the month of Ramadan, as we said earlier, is the month when rewards are being multiplied, actually. So it's not befitting for a Muslim to waste his or her time doing flimsy activities, the activities that will not be rewarded by God Almighty. like wasting one's time in other things that are not recommended in Ramadan, or like engaging in any kind of trouble, however small it is not pardoned in Islam actually, because the Prophet of Islam said that Rubba sa'imin. In many cases, a person who fasts will end up having nothing except the hunger that he or she spends in the day. How is that? Because he fasts, yet he or she engages in trouble, yet he or she engages in telling lies, yet he or she engages in backbiting, slandering others, and so on and so others. All those immoral activities reduce the reward of a person. If a person does not take care, now, if he commits much and much immoral activities, it will end up, tantamounting his fasting to have nothing except the hunger that he or she suffers in the daytime. While it's not the target. The target is for us to be disciplined members of the society, and also to be disciplined people to God Almighty in the first instance, then to other people that we relate to. Now,
All right. How does one who is sick, pregnant, or even traveling, manage the responsibilities that comes with Ramadan?
if I will have a reward, I will give you for these questions, because these are questions are very good. Now, the fasting of the month of Ramadan, as mentioned in the Quran, is incumbent upon every Muslim, a major. But as you rightly pointed out, the sick person or the wayfarer are exempted, are allowed not to fast. Because if the sick person, if the doctor advises the sick person not to fast, then he or she should abide by the injunction of the doctor. Then later he or she should pay in lieu of what he or she didn't perform. Then also the wayfarer, actually, because like person who travels by car, in some of our roads or most of our roads, it is very harsh. And like in our area here, sometimes the temperature is about 44 degrees centigrade. I measured it. So when a person is traveling, you find things very difficult. So Islam allows a person not to pass but to pay later. Then also the woman who suckles her baby, sometimes she need to eat much so that she will have the milk that the baby will suckle. Then she is also permitted not to fast for that reason, but to pay later. Not only that, in case she cannot find somebody who will suckle the baby for her, if she can find somebody who will suckle the baby for her, then that is okay, she can fast. But in case the baby does not accept other woman's breast, then she should then fast. Or in case she does not have the money to pay for the second person, then she should also, since she's also permitted to fast and not to fast, then to pay later. And as I said earlier, the sick person, now that illness depends. There are sometimes some people that their own kind of illness is throughout the year. There is no time. Medically, they cannot fast. So those persons are completely exempted from fasting. Then also there are some other people, like the people who attain some kind of degree of old age, that they cannot fast due to old age. They are also exempted from fasting. And these kind of people, the person who cannot medically fast throughout the year due to his own health conditions throughout the year, he or she is exempted altogether from fasting. And the old age person, in their own case, they need not to pay in lieu. But as for the previous one that we said, then they should pay in lieu at a later time. So these are some of the exemptions because Islam cares. Whenever there is a rule, then Islam will look for tangible excuses, and such people will Islam accept their excuses. Now,
How do you think that people who struggle with consistency in their prayer life use Ramadan to reconnect to their spirituality?
yes, this reminds me also that you see, Ramadan is a month when prayers are being accepted. The Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him, say that inna lis-sa'imi 'inda fitrihi da'watun la turad. How come? I mean to say that the fasting person has a prayer that will not be rejected. So if a person is fasting, God answers his prayer, particularly when he or she comes to break the fast. At that time, whatever you request from God, it will be given to you. But it depends, God has no compulsion. It depends on to as to how God Almighty decides to give he or she what he requests. So the month of Ramadan is actually a month when Muslims should engage in much prayers. You pray for yourself, you pray for your parents in particular, you pray for your relatives, you pray for your country, you pray for the leaders, so that God, guide them aright. You pray for the country, so that the country and the globe, and the world in general, will live in peace and tranquility. So it's actually a month when prayers should be supplications. Muslims should engage more and more in those supplications. Thank you very much.
All right. What are the benefits of praying Taraweeh, and must it be done in a mosque?
Yes, now that Taraweeh means those units of supererogatory prayers that Muslims pray during Ramadan. It must not be prayed in mosques, but is recommended by Islamic scholars because some people are weak. You can pray it at home actually, but in order to strengthen one another, that is why it is prayed in the mosques. So the benefits, part of the benefits are that a person, according to the hadith, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه أو كما قال. Meaning to say that whosoever observes those supererogatory prayers in Ramadan, his sins will be forgiven. So part of its merit is that sins are being forgiven for observing those units of prayers in Ramadan. It also teaches us to continue so doing even after Ramadan, because night prayers gives a person a very good connection to God Almighty. And also night prayers makes a person and supplication to be answered. And also it teaches a person, to fear God Almighty. So those are part of the merits of those night prayers. And also it unites Muslims. You see Muslims all over the country and all other countries in the whole world engage in those night prayers, which unites their thinking, unites their target, and not whatnot. Now,
Oh, fantastic, really. I mean, so much that has been said on this platform this morning. But just as a way of wrapping things up, I wanted to ask, how do you think that a Muslim would be able to balance his responsibility and work alongside the demands and activities of Ramadan? And as an imam in Birnin Kebbi, would you support a legislation where, for instance, on Ramadan month, a Muslim stops work and they also stop school so that, they're able to concentrate on the spirituality and the activities that come with Ramadan? And how do you think that can also foster religious tolerance across board?
thank you very much. You see, in Ramadan, Muslims are not to go and lie down actually. But yet, authorities are to take care of their subjects. Now, as I said earlier, the temperature here is ranging around 40 and 44 as I measure it myself. Now, if you are here, you find that the weather is harsh for people to cope up. And as far as governments have rights to do what they do in that case. Not only in Ramadan, there are certain periods. I know that sometimes, even for elections, you'll find out that some places or in the whole country, people it is going to be a work-free day for elections and for other reasons. So long as governments are to take care of their people, then I do not see anything bad in allowing people to stay at home for some times. It is just for some times. And you know that there are so many holidays in Nigeria. Then if it is seems that it's very good for people to engage in holidays for Ramadan, that is acceptable actually, and people are very happy for that. So it is very much welcome idea actually.
Okay, what advice do you have for new converts, those who are experiencing Ramadan for the first time? What advice do you have for them in this regard?
Yes, new converts to Islam, as much as they are welcome to Islam, my advice to them is because they are convinced that they they follow Islamic faith, then they should also endure because part of the teachings of fasting in Islam is to teach person to be hardworking, to be tolerant. And you know that they say that hardship makes a man, and there is no sweat without sweat. So if they can fast, then they should also follow suit, and they should not relent effort as other Muslims are doing, because they are. We used to teach them that in Islam there are five pillars. The first pillar is that you believe that God is one and He's the only one that is to be worshipped, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of God. Then the second pillar is observance of five daily obligatory prayers. Then the third pillar is giving out podu, that is the major zakat, not the one that we have mentioned that is attached to Ramadan fast. That the major zakat that you give out 1/40 of your wealth for those who attend to that level. And then the first one is certification that there is no deity with worship except Allah, Muhammad is messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the prayers, daily prayers, then the giving out of the poor, that is the zakat, then fasting. Now, you believe that you have to fast as Muslim fast, then going out on pilgrimage if you are able to do so. Now, so if a person agrees that yes, I want to be a Muslim, and we tell him that okay, these are the pillars of Islam, you agree, he or she agrees, then you are welcome. So just as you are employed, I mean you are admitted in a university, then you know you have to abide by the rules and regulations of the university wherever you find yourself. So once you accept Islamic faith, and it is explained because Islam urge us to call people to Islam so that they will be convinced, not to be forced, but they agree to be Muslims out of conviction. So they are also convinced that they should fast in the month of Ramadan. So they are welcome, and they are being advised to stay away from eating and drinking, as all other Muslims stay away from eating and drinking, and they will not die, because not all other Muslims do not die for fasting. Then they will also not die actually by the grace of God.
Interesting. Um, Ado Bayero, some few days ago, announced that Durbar festival that usually happen in Kano State will not happen again, owing to the fact that he is scared that there might be bloodshed. How do you react to that development?
Well, you see, as an imam, I will speak from Islamic point of view. If there is anything, any manifestation of any conflict, then Islam advises us to stay away from anything that will lead to bloodshed or any unnecessary conflict. So to me, it is a welcome idea and it's a very good foresight. We continue to pray God for his intervention in all our affairs.
All right, Dr. Isma'Il Chindo Gotomo, many thanks for your time. I truly appreciate your insights on the program this morning.
Thank you very much too. I really appreciate your questions and being engaged in your TV station.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.